All right, well, let's not fuck around with this too much. Otherwise, I'm going to lose all my momentum of what we're thinking about. Yeah. Hello, universe. Oh,
Hey.
we are now back on YouTube. We're back. Okay, all right, let's crack on with it then. Okay, before Samson rugs us for the second time. Okay. Well, one of the things I was going to ask you about was with the upgrades, we haven't really seen too many other chips proposed, but Bitcoin Cash Orders has started talking about 2-minute block times, which has been, a little controversial. So for people who don't know, this is a very big picture, pie in the sky type stuff. You don't need to freak out one way or another. But the idea is that a 10-minute block time means on average you have to wait around 17 minutes, right? Because sometimes, that's 6 blocks an hour, and sometimes you fall in the half-hour block window, right? So it's a long time. And on top of that, the existing proposed solution is basically let's roll out zero conf and double spend proofs to more people. Now that's great, but at the same time, given BCH is small, a lot of people like exchanges and whatnot are not necessarily going to bother about that because they don't need to, because BCH isn't big enough, and it's simpler for them to just use confirmations, which every coin in the world uses, right? So, or basically every coin. So if we lowered the block time from 10 minutes to 2 minutes, then you would bring it down to I think it's under 3 minutes that you would get that first confirmation, which is really critical for exchanges. And then the counter argument is, well, then the exchanges will just multiply the confirmations needed by 5. But that's not necessarily true because there's plenty of other coins that have low amounts of block time and also a low number of confirmation. And also if we made this change, they might not even notice. They might just leave it the same as it was before, which is not something we should be relying on. But that's the idea, that potentially if we sped up the blocks, then we would have a much faster coin in some respects, right? Which would be a good thing. Now, the counter argument is that might be a bad trade-off for scalability, and also fucking with the 10 minutes feels a bit like something that would be very contentious, although maybe that could be mitigated with enough discussion. There's sort of like the magic numbers of Bitcoin, like the 21 million limit. We definitely don't want to change that. And SHA-256 hashing, we definitely don't want to change that. But then there's like the 1 megabyte block size, which we definitely did want to change. And some other people were like, well, we definitely don't want to change that. So it's like, is 10 minutes, is that on one side or the other? I mean, I think I started out being skeptical because I think if we change it too much, then we kind of lose a bit of the real Bitcoin type of credibility and legitimacy. But on the other hand, we're the minority chain, so it's up to us to actually get to a 10 or 100x better coin that can outcompete the existing, BTC control over the hash rate and the price, right? So this could potentially be one way to do it. I'm open to discussing it, at least if it can be shown that it wouldn't be harmful to scaling or whatever. What do you make of this vague idea?
It's a big topic side of if you bring it down to like 2-minute blocks. Is that an issue for nodes in the future if the block size doesn't change going down? So say you have 100 megabyte blocks going at 10 minutes. Okay, so you go down to 2 minutes. You're gonna have more blocks, so in that same amount of transactions, you'll have smaller blocks because more of them are coming out. But what happens if you have 100 megabyte blocks in 2 minutes as well? And just how that affects the nodes. So that's the unknown for me. I don't know how that would affect nodes. Where's the limits on the processing for the transactions? When do the nodes start having issues? So that's what I would want to know. And that's kind of outside of my knowledge. But the other side also is I don't really see a benefit personally to 2-minute confirmations. To me, BCH with zero conf, it's instant more or less. Everything I do, it just changes transactions. And I don't have to wait for blocks for things. So exchanges, like, okay, exchanges or anything that requires a block, okay, I can see the argument. I still feel like 2 minutes just doesn't work either, because for any average user, 2 minutes is an eternity. 3 minutes, 7 minutes is all an eternity still. Unless you're down to like 3 seconds, they're not going to care. And so, like, I don't know what Solana's block. I think it's like 2 seconds or something.
Oh, it's like 400 milliseconds or something. It's like crazy.
Yeah, it's super small, and like, so it's instant. Like, people use it, it's instant. They don't think about it. They don't care about the technicals. They want to see that instant. So 2 minutes or 7 minute average or whatever, it's like they would just view that as bad overall. So I understand exchanges and the first block confirmation. Like, I do get it. It would be potentially nice. So my mind's open to see and like actually the pros and cons of it. But little more on the, I need it proven first.
Yeah, well, I don't think there would be any change to scalability in terms of like, so we have ABLA now, and in making this change, you would also adjust, 1/5 down, right? So it's not like we would go from 100 megabytes now to 100, you would get essentially 20 megabytes per 2 minutes rather than 100 megabytes per 10 minutes. That would be adjusted. And also the same in terms of like the difficulty adjustment algorithm, maybe, and definitely in terms of what's the other little lock times. So if you've locked some, like badges, if you've locked something for 1,000 blocks, it would be adjusted so that it would then be 5,000 blocks. So existing contracts would still process at the same rate per 10 minutes, even if the block time went up 5x. The progress made on each block would be brought down 5x, right? So in that sense, I don't think there would be a problem. And one of the things that I like about this idea that Bitcoin Cash Orders has talked about is if we did that, if we made that change from 10 minutes to 2 minute blocks, obviously we wouldn't say we're changing it from 10 minutes to 2 minutes and 2 minutes is now the perfect number. Actually, it would be like, we're going to change it from 10 minutes to 2 minutes, but 2 minutes is now the setting. We're going to, we've added a setting so that we can pick any number. And if in the future we decide, wait, 2 minutes was too quick, we should make it 5 minutes, then that would just be a very simple tweak. Like the first time you change it, it would be more of a big deal because you would have to, get the system set up correctly. But if you've done that, then if you need to, and I guess the idea wouldn't be, okay, let's do it in the future. And who knows if 2 minutes is the perfect number, there's room to debate that initially, right? But it would be like, even if we picked a different number and we got it wrong, we could always change it back to 10 minutes. And it would just be very simple to do, provided everyone agreed, of course, but it would be easy to do. Or you could change it to another, maybe internet speeds get way faster than we expected. Maybe we'll change it to 1 minute blocks in 5 years' time or something. It would just be easy. There's a part of me that feels like a very flexible protocol is very powerful. Like we already have the more adaptable difficulty adjustment than BTC, and we already have the more adaptable block size than BTC. And I feel like everybody loves those changes. Not one person has ever basically complained about either of those things. So it's like, that's brilliant. It just automatically adjusts to be the best thing ever. I don't know if we'd want an automatically adjusting block size, or even if there would be a way to, or automatically adjusting block time, or even if there would be a way to figure that out or adjust that. But having the ability to change it, I think could kind of make sense. Like you say, the 10 minutes initially was just Satoshi's kind of best guess trade-off between, on one hand, slower confirmations is more annoying for users, especially back then, when everything was all confirmation based, versus if you make them shorter, you have more risk of orphans and potentially more centralization pressures on miners, because if there's like a 1 second delay in block transmitting when you find a new block, if it's a 10-minute window, that's less of a factor than if it's a 2-minute window, because it's still going to be the same 1 second of delay, right? So that's kind of like where the nuance is. And I agree with you. We're going to definitely need to see a lot more research, and the default position is no. But I think it's interesting. I think it's an interesting thing for the BCH community to put in the back of its mind and start thinking about it. And yeah, I started out very like, no, we don't want to do that. We're the real Bitcoin. Bitcoin is 10 minutes, etc. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, well, the thing is, when you're number 23, you've got to make some changes. Like, what we're doing is not getting us to number one as it is. That's just the nature of things. If you're number one, you can afford to keep doing what you're doing. If you're not, you've got to make some changes, big or small. And so we're making plenty of changes. So I'm not saying that this has to go in, or let's change things for the sake of changing things. I just think as a concept, as an idea, it's worth kind of considering. All right, what else we got here? Bliss. You're coming to Bliss. You're talking at Bliss. Do you want to give us any quick teaser about that?
It's the title of my talk is Be Someone, so it's going to be kind of related to some of what we talked about on this, and there may or may not be some random little things I show that are new, maybe.
Okay.
So
all right. See. I don't want to push you too hard on that, but yeah, come chill out at Bliss, everyone. It's going to be amazing. It's now like 60 something days, I think, or maybe we've even hit into the 50 something days, right? Until Bliss. Let's have a look. We're here 58 days until Bliss. So get your tickets at bliss.cash. The ticket sales have been ticking over pretty regularly. It's been looking good on that front. Oh, I forgot to update the slide. But there you have it. Come along to Bliss. It's going to be awesome. And community comment of the week. Here we go. This week, what we've seen, and this has caught me by surprise, and it kind of goes back to the start of the show, is this week, the thing that started happening is the BTC guys have started acting surprised that their coin has become captured and hijacked. So I have Nick Carter here, quote, "Some of us have been warning about the government taking an overly keen interest in Bitcoin. The fact that Bitcoiners are celebrating government BTC, quote unquote, literally that's how it's written in the executive order, is deeply puzzling." And then he was quote tweeted by this guy, George Selgin, who I don't know, but he said, quote, "I fully agree. The original subversively libertarian Bitcoin agenda has been hijacked by people whose ideals go no further than number go up," end quote. So this is, of course, what we have been telling them since fucking forever. But now it's become too big to deny. And it's just kind of a bit galling that they don't say, wait, you guys told us. Instead, it's like, oh, I can't figure this out. How did this happen? It's this kind of feigned ignorance, really. I mean, they're going to do what they're going to do, but it's just reducing my respect for them even further, to be honest, to get to this point and not just be like, even now he's using the word hijacked here because Roger has put it into the lingo with hijacking Bitcoin. How would you not say, yeah, they've been telling us this since fucking a decade ago, I don't know. Yeah. What's your reaction?
I mean, crypto in general is more mainstream, like way more mainstream these days, but it's still kind of a niche in the public, in like actually being involved in it. So BCH is a niche within a niche still. So I just feel like a lot of these people just don't know about it and don't know the history.
Nick Carter definitely does. I don't know this other guy, George Selgin, but Nick Carter, he was on the Lex Friedman podcast giving his view of the block size wars and etc. And then he's also been on his freaking page, oh, the new emails came out from Marty Malmy. I can't believe Satoshi was a big block. Like, give me a fucking break. How does this guy have, whatever it is, 500,000 Twitter subscribers or followers and all these people thinking he's some Bitcoin guru? When are you going to wake up? Fucking
echo bubbles.
Unbelievable. Yeah, echo chambers. It's absolutely disgusting, honestly. But, whatever. They're going to live in their delusional land as long as they want, and we're going to get vindicated as we have been constantly without them necessarily capitulating. People don't change their mind, they just die. So there you go. And on that topic, meme of the week, which I saw literally just before the stream and I felt it matched perfectly, It's what's this guy's name, Jet? Do you know? It's Andre. You're muted.
Eric Andre.
Eric Andre, that's his name. Eric Andre. It's the meme where he shoots another guy and then he pretends like, how did this happen? Like who would do such an evil thing? Anyway, it's related to this opinion piece in the New York Times article. We were badly misled about the event that changed our lives, which I haven't read, but supposedly is about them kind of saying, oh, wait, COVID was all a bit of a scam, and the lab leak hypothesis was suppressed, and we've all realized in March of 2025 how it was all a bit of a setup. Which listeners of this show, we didn't actually go hard on it, right? But we definitely did that episode with Kane and stuff where we were talking about it on this show. Like, this is not news if you were awake and not just following the news, the propaganda, right? So anyway, the meme is Eric Andre, the New York Times, shooting the guy labeled lab leak hypothesis, and he says, why would we be misled like this? So it's so ridiculous for the New York Times, who were a part of spreading these unvaccinated conspiracy theorists and so forth, to then be like, oh, how were we misled? We were totally caught off guard. Like, shift the blame. Who else can we find who was at fault? We didn't have anything to do with this. And I just feel like it's literally exactly the same thing as these BTC guys. How did we end up with a captured, hijacked BTC? Why did nobody tell us? So, okay. Just, I don't know, comedic. Any thoughts on the pandemic or on feigned ignorance?
Just people not wanting to rock the boat and not wanting to make decisions. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like it's hard to tell whether people, like, maybe self-awareness just doesn't exist. I'm coming to this new theory that self-awareness, there's no self-aware people. Like, maybe the Buddha or something, but accepting him, who's like a paragon of that virtue, maybe nobody on planet Earth can have self-awareness, because if you did have self-awareness, if anybody had self-awareness, they would instantly just like go insane from how much cognitive dissonance. Nobody is perfectly consistent, right? Everybody has all kinds of stuff that they did in the past that they've changed their mind on, that they didn't admit to somebody else, or some conflicting opinions that, like, well, when it's me, it's a special case that whatever I justify, but I still judge other people for that, right? So I'm just coming to this theory that maybe humans can't have self-awareness, because if you did, you would instantly go insane, because there's got to be some explanation for why people like does Nick Carter, does he know? Do you think he's self-aware enough to know I was on the wrong side of history? In fact, I aggressively pushed the wrong side of history. Now it's turning out exactly like the people who told me that I was doing the wrong thing said it would, and I'm pretending that I don't know that that's what happened. Do you think he's pretending, or do you think he literally just is ignorant?
I think it's hard for people to to acknowledge that they're wrong in something, and it's just people can't get past that block, so they'll come up with excuses and just circle around it. And
but do you think he's conscious of that process? Yeah, it's hard, but the thing is, there's a big difference between, I've realized I was wrong, and I'm going to put on a public front, like, I wasn't wrong, oh, wow, let's wend it away some way. Or he's like genuinely like, da-da, like the Galaxy Brain meme, Galaxy Brain, BTC is getting captured, and like his mind has just deleted out all the history, or has never wound back the tape. Like that element of self-awareness just does not exist in him.
I could see it getting blacked out as like a self-preservation mechanism.
Yes, this is what I'm talking about. Yeah. This is it. Exactly.
Yeah, what if it's just like a fake it till you make it thing, where he knew it was a lie at some point, but over the years, where he's like reinforced these worldviews, it's no longer a lie to him anymore. Like, it's a thing that
I was one of the good guys.
Yeah.
Just by a series of stages. Well, it's like we talked about on the hoax. It's just that whole process of your mind changes at point X, and the mistake is the world changed at point X, and I changed at the exact moment. Aren't I such a great guy? Or I changed X plus one, X plus one, X plus one, X plus one, X plus one in sync with reality, quote unquote, when it's like, no, you were late to the game 100% of the time. Somebody else was already there before you. You've got to recognize that to actually rebuild an accurate picture of what happened. But that never happens.
It's weird as well when money gets involved in it. Like when you throw your wealth is now tied to this thing. So it's like a sports team, like a sports fan. It's like your value is going to go up or down based off what actions you do for your sports team. That's going to drastically change how they react with it. So
that's true. That's true. And it's even worse than that because it's both their financial incentives and their ego, which are both the two enormous drivers of like stubbornness and refusing to accept a changing situation. Voluntarism says in the chat, have you watched Rajat CFA? I think I know the guy you're talking about on Twitter, but I never watched any of his content. He says he will not debate anyone from BCH. He won't debate Peter Risen, but he'll debate some random from XRP, lol. Talk about debating low-hanging fruit. And that's exactly it. That's exactly the point, right? Is that acknowledging we were wrong is not going to happen until the cost, the social cost of refusing to do so gets so high that it just swamps pretending that nothing ever changed, right? Like I talked about on the show, like I'm not going to be debating against a lot of these guys because they don't want to do it. They even just the idea, they know that it would be a train wreck for them. So we're kind of restricted to reply guying them on Twitter a bit until they get sick of getting wrecked and block and block us. But that's fine because that's only just that little bubble. As BCH improves as an ecosystem, eventually it starts to invade their reality in other ways. People that are not the BCH community start saying to them, what about what these guys are saying? And like we saw last week with the hijacking Bitcoin by Eric Weinstein and all this stuff, like reality is omnipresent. So it just finds a way to get into their field of vision. It just takes a long time and they have to handle that on their own time. But I have no, illusions that things are going to flip at the point that so many people are listening to me and to the BCH community as a collective that you just can't be taken seriously if you don't acknowledge what we're saying, which is partly from podcasts and Twitter debates. And then, like you said, it's also partly from just building apps. When it gets to the point that people are just like, these apps are just 10x better than anything the BTC guys. I mean, it's starting to get close to that point. That's why we're seeing the shifts in the narrative. Oh, guys, did you notice BTC has been hijacked? that you have, because once upon a time it was, oh, Lightning Network's going to come and save us. Oh, BCH is a shit coin. Oh, look at how scrappy they are. They're having their own civil war. They're not doing anything. Oh, we'll just copy their protocol upgrades. Like however many lies that they all told themselves. One by one, those are just crumbling in public vision. So anyway, it is what it is. That's enough of my
on our side, we're like, oh, you want OpCat or CQB? How
cute. Exactly. It's becoming just, but now the conversation is breaking down as well too, right? Because we spent some time, OpCat, blah, blah, blah. We had that 6 years ago. There's nothing we can talk about of value with them because they're so far behind that it just, what are they going to bring to the conversation, So we've kind of been through this cycle of like arguing and then nobody talking and then talking to them a bit and then slowly rebuilding some bridges. And now we've got to the point where the bridges is there, but we don't even need to shout across it anymore because there's no. I've stopped listening to basically all those BTC podcasts. I used to listen. It was interesting, and I was learning, keeping up with what is the current state of affairs. But BCH has just accelerated so far past that there's very little value in it these days. Right. Anyway,
Yep.
of course, why would we be misled like this? Look for a lot more of that. Why would Bitcoiners be advocating for the government? Why do we suddenly have all these, trolls in our community? How have our values gone out the window? Why is El Salvador siding with the IMF? Why is it not working? Will be the essential question. Going to be a lot of cognitive dissonance about that coming up. Okay, message to the community. You know how it goes. What does the BCH community need to hear?
Build, get involved, do things. You can do things. That old guy meme. You can do things. You don't need to ask permission. I'm trying to get myself to do a tutorial video on doing smart contracts from scratch. That you could follow on YouTube and stuff like that. So, I tried doing some learning classes in my local area, and unfortunately didn't really get any interest from the few I did. But I want to go from, like, if you're a high school student or maybe you just don't know how to code, it's like you can go from beginning and up, and just there's diamonds everywhere. And if you felt like you missed the train on Bitcoin, if you felt like you missed the train on Ethereum, this train is loading up. So get involved.
Absolutely. Okay, all right. Our FundMe contributors. This concludes our batch of episodes 136 to 145. So for the last time for this batch, although I usually do them in the weeks following while we're doing the new round, Majumali Marcelli, founding father of Molecular, the show we love, Erdogan Talk Economics writer, Milton Friedman, at Cash Stamps, Keep Calm Bitcoin Cash, and Emergent Reasons. Please experiment with new ways to get you, Callisti, and Phoenix in front of some serious media spotlights. I will be doing a new FundMe campaign soon, so you guys can hopefully chip in some sats if you've been enjoying the show. And Kyle here will be getting his nice little slice as well too. So it's two for the price of one. You're funding two parts of the ecosystem at the same time. Okay, supporter appreciation. Thank you to our donators. Thank you to our patrons, Ricky and HP, and our sponsors, General Protocols. Check out bchbull.com, bitcoincashpodcast.com for the start guide and FAQ. If you're new to the show, check out episode 85 and try Selene Wallet at selene.cash. Hopefully this month, again, this next week or two, we should be out with the Cash tokens release of Selene. That's going to be awesome. And I've been hard at work on the next banger for the Selene as well too. So yeah, maybe hoping to have that ready by Bliss or maybe a little bit earlier. So look out for that one. Okay, final shout outs. Sayoshi, where can people find more of you?
I'm on Twitter at Sayoshi Help Me, X, whatever. And besides that, on Telegram. So if you want you can go to helpme.cash, and it has a Twitter link at the bottom for that group. Final shout outs. Shout out to Mini Satoshi for making his ecosystem website, because my updating on Help Me has been very, very sporadic. So it's awesome to see another site come out that has stuff that I'm missing. So now I can cherry pick, which is a lot easier to update Help Me. And also shout out to my amazing wife, who goes by Vin Radiant. Because I wouldn't even be sitting here right now if she didn't push me to start doing things. So
amazing. Behind every great man is a greater woman, right?
Exactly.
Jet, any final shout outs?
Yeah, I should also give a shout out to Mini Satoshi, because I had known bugs with the metrics stuff, and I just ignored it for the longest time because I was like, I'm really the only one that's using this. And having people poke me to be like, hey, go fix this is nice. So shout out to you. It's up now and should be stable.
Amazing. And my shout outs are a couple things. Firstly, if you go to helpme.cash/events, there is a calendar there where I've started listing the podcast times ahead of time. So if you want to catch the show live, you can see the upcoming time slots, and I'm trying to encourage other people to also chip in on that. Other things that are on the calendar already, BCH bank run, so that can remind you as well, the 1st and the 15th. And thank you to everybody who has been involved in that and making noise on social media and doing withdrawals. That's all been awesome. I've been loving the action that there's been there, and Paul and Ryan for making videos about it. It's just been great to see so much organic traction off of, relatively small effort there. And also to the BCH Global Lotto draw, which you can find at bitcoincashgloballotto.com. I think we talked about it on the show, but if we didn't, Neanderthal and one other guy have got this project going. I think this is the 3rd week, just got drawn. Bagatelle won it, and the draw is now open for another week. So maybe consider trying that out, but please gamble responsibly. And that will do it. Shout out to everyone in the comments. Great to see you all be part of the show. And thank you all for listening. Until next time.
You're second with Geek Taka, that fits in the game. So lean independent, the global currency game. Cashing eyes in the world, making payments with ease. Growing course of BCH, please. We're the Bitcoin Cash Army, rise up, unite. From wallets to dexes, the future is bright. Flipstart or FundMe, funding what's real. BCH Bulls got your hedging deal. Gurus with vision, price moves they predict. Faster, start staking, unlock with a click. Cauldrons brew and trace, no middleman fees. While cash with rights, our contracts with ease. Decentralized power, no leader in sight. Changing the world, we accept the fight. Foundations tremble, all systems decay. Bitcoin Cash is paving the way. We're the Bitcoin Cash Army, rise up, unite. From wallets to dexes, we're ready to fight. The BCH podcast, keeping it real. Hey, the foundation has a free sticker deal. Developers rising, the code's getting tight. Conferences sparking, innovation all night. Contracts brewing, apps on the way. Growing adoption every single day. We're surpassing the king, reclaiming the crown. Bitcoin Cash is where freedom's found. The bells all one, the truth shining bright. A warning to those